This is my video on the adaptations of the body systems to a period of training and exercise. So, depending on the sport you play, different adaptations will take place due to the intensity and duration of an event, and they are things that determine whether an event is anaerobic or aerobic. In a game, for example, a rugby player, you would be using both aerobic and anaerobic energy systems in order to be able to play continuously, but for a long duration, but at a low to medium, sometimes high intensity. Anaerobic is high intensity, short duration, and it's respiration without the use of oxygen, and therefore an example would be a sprint in the middle of a game. So to train your body anaerobically, you can do plyometric training, which would involve short explosive movements to work on power or strength, particularly in the legs. And these movements are so quick that they're without oxygen, and they would therefore be anaerobic training exercises. Typical adaptations of this type of exercise are muscular hypertrophy and increased tendon stretch. Aerobic training is long duration, low intensity training with the use of oxygen, so like a jog or a walk, or in the game, moving between phases and getting into position. And to train aerobically, you can do continuous training or fartlek training. And some typical adaptations of a period of aerobic training would be cardiac and muscular hypertrophy, increased mitochondria levels, and blood volume would also increase. There are 4 main aerobic training methods: fartlek, interval, circuit, and continuous. Fartlek training, fartlek means speed plate in Swedish, and it involves varying your speed and the type of terrain which you could run, walk, or cycle over. It improves both aerobic and anaerobic fitness, and although rugby is played on a grass pitch, the training wouldn't necessarily be carried out on a grass pitch. Continuous training involves working for a sustained period of time without rest, and this is used in order to stimulate aerobic events, where like rugby, where there's a stop-start situation continuously, and that means that work rates vary throughout the game, and it's important that a player would be able to keep up a good running intensity for the whole game. Otherwise, a short burst could become a struggle, and a good example of this would be running continuously for 20 minutes at about 14 RPE. Interval training is a workout which involves alternating periods of high intensity work and low intensity or rest work, which is the recovery time. And then circuit training involves performing a series of exercises in an order, which make up a circuit. Each activity would take place at a station, and it can be tailored to improve speed, agility, coordination, balance, muscular endurance, and even skills. So a typical circuit for a rugby player could involve shuttle runs, as about 20 to 30 reps, or as many as possible in a minute, and then medicine ball medicine ball or kettlebell squats to focus on muscular endurance. And then we move on to anaerobic training methods. There are 4 main anaerobic training methods: plyometric, HIIT, interval, and circuit. Interval training is, again, a workout which involves high intensity, then low intensity, and alternating them. Plyometric or plyo training is a technique that can be used to help develop muscle fibers and build muscle mass. Circuit training involves anaerobic circuit training, will mainly involve, for a rugby player, will mainly involve weight circuits, so working on shoulders, legs, chest, arms in each station. And HIIT training is high intensity interval training, which is a training technique which you give 100% effort for quick, intense bursts of exercise, followed by a short recovery period, which could be active recovery, it could be completely resting recovery. And this type of training gets and keeps your heart rate up and will burn more fat in a shorter period of time than aerobic training would. This is a graph showing VO2 max test data before an exercise program, and on it you can see 2 different lines. The top line shows the data achieved by an athlete when running at an increasing speed, and it shows the amount of oxygen required to keep up with the demands placed on the body whilst running at those different speeds. The second line shows, in comparison to the top line, the second line shows lower VO2 values when running at the same speed, and this would be shown in a person who'd been training for a 6 to 8 week period of time to achieve adaptations to their body and their body systems, particularly their lungs. And the line being lower would mean that a person can work easier for a longer period of time, and at the same pace they would before training has taken place, as now they are more efficient at supplying the working muscles with the oxygen. The CV system or cardiovascular system is vital to aerobic exercise, mainly because it's the system which transports O2 to the muscles so that it can be processed in order to resynthesize ATP. And the more efficiently the CV system works in exercise, the better an athlete will be able to perform when their body is working aerobically. Cardiac hypertrophy is the muscles of the heart, which is called the myocardium, getting bigger and the fibres getting thicker, and on top of that the weight of the heart, chamber size and volume will all increase. This means that the myocardium is stronger, and the stronger the myocardium becomes, the more it's able to stretch, and because the myocardium is now able to pump out more blood in one contraction, it means the heart will stretch more, and therefore more blood will come into the ventricles and stroke volume will increase. So because stroke volume has increased, it means that the heart will have to pump less in order to get the same amount of blood around the body, and this causes heart rate to become lower. Athlete's heart is a phrase used to describe a heart which has undergone hypertrophy due to exercise, and athlete's heart causes stroke volume and maximum heart rate to increase, and resting heart rate will decrease. Heart rate becoming lower means that there is a larger heart rate range, and this means that because resting heart rate is lower, the amount which it can go up before it reaches its maximum is going to be more. And this means that an athlete can work much harder in exercise because the amount which heart rate can increase by is a lot bigger in exercise. These adaptations of the heart will affect stroke volume and make it increase because of the formula heart rate times stroke volume equals cardiac output. And heart rate has lowered, but as stroke volume has increased, and these adaptations will mean that cardiac output will increase slightly, but the change in cardiac output won't be as big or as much as the change in heart rate or stroke volume. Capillarization means that more capillaries will be formed in the muscles and around the alveoli, which means that more oxygen can diffuse into the blood at one time from the alveoli, and in the muscles more oxygen will be able to diffuse into the muscles so that myoglobin can transport it through the muscles. It also means that more CO2 can diffuse from the muscles into the blood so that it can be removed from the body quicker, and more hemoglobin is created so that more oxygen can be transported from to the body from the lungs in the blood. Blood plasma volume will also increase, and this means that blood volume increases so that there's more blood to carry hemoglobin which is needed because there's more hemoglobin. And an increase in blood plasma volume will lead to blood becoming more viscous and thinner, which then lowers blood pressure because thinner blood is easier to pump around the body. Also, aerobic training will reduce the risk of some cardiovascular diseases like coronary heart disease, arteriosclerosis, atherosclerosis, and hypertension. Also, it will increase a person's functional fitness in their general life and will stop a person becoming tired as quickly as they would be used to. This graph shows the increase in heart rate from the start of a period of exercise, the start of a VO2 max test to the end of a VO2 max test, from before a period of training and after a period of training. The top line with the diamonds on it is the data received from the person doing the training, and the bottom line is what the graph would look like if the person underwent a 6 to 8 week aerobic training period. The lower, similarly to the VO2 max test line, to the other graph we looked at, the line moves down the graph after training to lower values for heart rate from the start of the test to the end of the test, and this gives the person a bigger heart rate range to work within, which means that the person's heart becomes more economical and can take place. This happens because the training has allowed a larger cardiac output and a larger stroke volume, so it can get more blood around the body in less beats at the same speeds and under the same demands. But it also means that a person will be able to work at increasing intensities for a longer period of time,